checking in. Dennis, good to see you.
How you doing, Andy?
All right,
good to see you today.
Feeling good today. Full energy, full strength today?
Yes.
All right, what about go back for last Friday night for us? Take us back to that ball game over at Dudley when they played Hillside last week. How about that?
What a remarkable game it was. Our Dudley Panthers came in off of a big win over the Page Pirates, and they came into another tough game with thrice one of the top quarterbacks that no one knew a lot about, but everybody knew about Elliott. Elliott is the running back for Durham Hillside. He's committed already to Oregon. That was a tall task for Dudley defense. They shut Elliott down. Elliott didn't have the big game that he had the weeks prior when he came to play Dudley. One of the things that you have to look at is Dudley defense is awesome. One issue that we found out, a weakness for Dudley, and it's going to be how to stop a scrambling quarterback.
Yeah.
Bryce put on a show. He put on a show. He had the Dudley defense gassing, guessing, and wondering and pondering how to stop that particular type
you're right
of quarterback.
about that. They were gassing and guessing. They were gassing because they're getting tired of chasing around. They were guessing because we don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever you can have a defense guessing and gassing, you are a sensational quarterback, especially if you can have a Dudley defense guessing and gassing. Yeah. That's unbelievable.
They were guessing and they were gassing, and he was passing, and he was throwing the ball pretty well.
He was doing an outstanding job, and that showed how vulnerable Dudley defense can be when it comes to a sensational quarterback that have speed, that have good vision. A thing that make a good quarterback is good vision, understanding the game, reading defense. Good vision, understanding the game, and reading defense, and he did a marvelous job. But that wasn't enough to keep Dudley from winning the ball game. 7-14, a very close game, is indicative of the score. So when we got to Trombley Stadium, when Durham Hillside invaded, everybody thought that it was going to be a close game, but didn't nobody think it was going to be that close. Dudley barely escaped again. And
what about Eastern Guilford and their loss to Page? Now they go to Smith this week. Where do you see Eastern Guilford as they settle in over at Claude Manzi Stadium tomorrow night? You feel good about Eastern Guilford's chances? They take that loss in stride, so we lost to a tough team, gave them a good fight. Came up a little bit short. We go to Smith this week. Got to be careful against the Eagles.
Yeah, and you brought up a very good point about the Dudley defense. You said to us during the halftime that what Dudley defense is trying to find their identity, and what Eastern Guilford is doing this year is finding their identity with the guys that have left and the guys that have been replaced. And when you play against a tough defense like Page that could ill afford to lose 2 in a row, Eastern Guilford gave them a great game all the way down to the wire.
Certainly.
And we was very fortunate to hear the last 3 minutes of that. Technology is awesome. So we was almost play-by-play and live at the same time. And we was able to hear. They only lost that game, Andy, about 35 or 40 seconds. If they'd have had extra on the clock, with less than a minute or a minute, we could have had a totally different ball game, because in the closing seconds, they attempted a field goal and it was blocked. So if you give me 45 more seconds and 10 more yards, you are now making a 19-yard
like
field goal.
The old coach used to say, they may still be playing.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And the good thing about the Eastern Guilford game is that they play one of the toughest opponents in Guilford County.
That's a good thing, too, because you play a tough team like Page and play them like they did, that's going to make you a better team. And they're almost playing the entire city table. Got this table here, a beautiful table here at Kickback Jack's, almost playing the entire city table, playing against Page, playing against Smith and Grimsley. The only team they're not playing is Dudley, so Eastern Guilford coming against these teams.
Yeah, and that's big for Eastern Guilford because of the old district lines was the county schools didn't get to play the city schools, and a lot of people didn't recognize. And the kids here was last week was saying, and you and I have heard the same thing with Southern, when they was coming out, when they had Reggie Gillespie, when they went over and beat Northern, nobody gave those kids a chance. And the first thing they said to us that these county teams, when you play the big city teams, that and you win, that's big for your program. And to play at Page as close as they did, that was awesome for the Eastern Guilford. That's momentum for Eastern.
Sure,
now they feel they can play with anybody.
They just got to make sure that they played so well last week against a very talented team, and they don't take Smith, say we're dropping down a notch or two playing Smith. They got to be careful to don't get caught in that trap. That's a big trap there.
Right. Let's use Coach Davis' word. You have to use your Rydell. You remember, you have to use the Rydell.
Let the Rydells do the talking.
Let the Rydell do the talking, absolutely.
And that's Rydell shoes, the Rydell pads.
Rydell pads and the helmet.
Most people used to think about the Rydell shoes, those red bottoms on them, like the black bass fish. You had the red bottom Rydells. It was the most common football shoes around back in the day. But he's talking shoes, he's talking helmets, he's talking pads, he's talking everything. Talk a little bit about the big game this week between Dudley and Southeast Guilford. Dudley goes on the road. Got a tough road trip against a former Dudley Panther player in Kennedy Tinsley, now coaching Southeast Guilford. Falcons have come on very good to start the year at 4-0. Dudley 4-0. Big battle coming up there. Yeah,
that's certainly a big battle. You and I know how these battles have brewed in the past with Dudley and with Southeast. When you look at this type of ball game, Kennedy Tinsley is not only playing his old former team or his old former coaches or his old community, he's playing one of the toughest teams in the state of North Carolina. And as a new head coach, you're 4-0, and that is a big plus for Tinsley. But Tinsley know all about Dudley. He know the inside and out about a Dudley. He know all about the hype of Dudley. And to get prepared for all of that, like you said, Andy, when you playing against Dudley defense, you're not only going against 11 guys, you're thinking you're going against 15 and 16 guys.
They play so hard, it's like you're going 11 times too, like you're facing 22 guys out there.
Absolutely, and for the young...
they cast a big shadow, those Dudley players.
Absolutely, and you talk about a cast a big shadow. When you go into a visiting stadium such as Southeast, and that cast of that shadow, that ominous cloud, we would say, it's huge to play against the hype of Dudley. And one of the things that Southeast cannot afford is to make mistakes. When you're already the underdog, when you're going against a team like Dudley live off your mistakes. And right now, Dudley Panthers is becoming a very dangerous team because as close as they get to healing, for one of the premier backs that haven't had, when you talk about Zariq Rush coming back, the emerge of Rush.
When he comes back, if he's completely 100% healthy, you know he's going to want to make up for lost time. He's going to come back with a vengeance when he returns.
You're absolutely right, and that's going to give Dudley what they do not have now is that balance. Right now, Dudley's a little unbalanced. The defense is balanced, and the offense is still unbalanced because of Miles Smith and Barry. You're trying to put guys where they don't belong, and so Dudley is going to go in and give Southeast all they can handle tomorrow.
So, interesting point. I didn't bring this up with Joe Sierra, but I'll save this for Dennis. You go back to the 7-on-7 they had at Dudley that day, and in the finals in the 7-on-7, which is completely different than regular football we don't have by now, but we still have some analogies, little breakdowns, comparisons we have to use because of every little string of information we can. But in that final, in the 7-on-7, it was Dudley versus Southeast. Southeast went for 2, chance to win. They got beat, I think, 15-14. They were right there within 1 point of Dudley in the 7-on-7 championship game. So Southeast knows at least 7-on-7, and you add 4 more, you got 11. They can play with Dudley.
And when
I should give them some confidence. If I'm looking at Dudley, especially on the Southeast quarterback, thinking about Douglas, Ryan Douglas, I go back and remember that game. I said, you know, we're right there with these guys. We got a chance against these guys when it comes up Friday night.
Yeah, and you take that every inch.
And if I'm a player, I want to play a team like Dudley because the man said right before he nearly died a while back, to be the best, you got to beat the best. Yeah. That's what Flair said before he almost keeled over and almost passed away. But football players seem to say that, you know, we like playing these schools we beat. That's fun. But the fun thing is to beat some team you're not supposed to beat and beat the top team in the county. You want to knock those guys off because Dudley is that good and you want to be better.
Yeah, absolutely. And every a little bit of momentum help, and you take that momentum that, hey, we played these guys in the summer, 7-on-7, and we gave them all they can handle. And for a quarterback, the only difference is now, for Ryan Douglas, he was able to sit there in the pocket. They give you 4 seconds to throw the ball, but you weren't under any duress.
And you don't get tackled. He's got to tell his guys, like you see, he's got to tell his linemen, I got to have protection. I got to have time to make these plays. We got to have protection. And we saw it last week when the Randy Trice Jr. for Hillside was throwing the ball and having chances to move around. Well, in the first half, he had a lot of success. Second half, instead of bringing maybe 2, Dudley was bringing 4, and they're bringing 4 like the 4 horsemen right up the middle.
Yeah, and whenever Dudley figure out what you're doing, they can adjust. A lot of teams can cannot adjust. Unfortunately, when Dudley played Page, Page couldn't adjust like Dudley was able to adjust. And when Dudley adjusts and find out what you're doing, you're in trouble. They began to bring that weak side linebacker. You and I talked about it. I brought it up, and certainly as soon as we said it, it's almost like we was in the headsets to the coaches. They changed up. And when that weak side linebacker started coming, and then that defensive end started that blitzing, and that cornerback was picking up that receiver, Dudley then had the advantage. That's what you're talking about, that 22 guys syndrome.
There they go.
And the quarterback couldn't run to the right or run to the left like he was doing all night long. And when Dudley started, they're the best pursuing. They have great pursuit from the inside and outside that you've seen in high school football.
So Dudley Southeast tomorrow night. Ryan Douglas leading Southeast at quarterback, and Dudley led by that young man G. Simpson. Gerald Simpson leads him. Should be a good battle between those two teams. We may have to look out for Faraji Joseph, that kicker, see what he may do for Dudley too, because he kind of showed his feet off last week, or his foot off last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
He kick with both.
Yeah, absolutely. And the team that we just talked about, Southeast, good segue. Southeast just came, and we're going to step aside.
And we'll get you back in to close out things later, we hope as well. Maybe try to even get Alex, the manager, to maybe get a little relax at Kickback Jacks. Maybe Alex to close out the show tonight around 7:30. But again, it's Kickback Jacks on Battleground Avenue. Time to relax at Kickback Jacks. I think we may have Jacks in the house tonight too. He may be here.
May be here, absolutely. So
we're
going to make room now for the Southeast Falcons. They're going to come now and join Andy Durham.